In this lesson, we're going to start focusing on creating some more interesting content that could generate some more backlinks for our website. If you're unaware of what backlinks are, they are links from other websites to your website. And these are so important because search engines place a very high importance on these backlinks, especially if they are coming from other authoritative websites within your business area. This stems from the idea that external backlinks are one of the hardest metrics to manipulate, and therefore it's one of the best ways for search engines to determine the popularity of your web page. We're going to be talking about backlinks or inbound links in a future episode. So for now, let's jump in and start adding some more content onto our site. In this lesson, we're just going to be focusing on the coffee page of our site. So let's switch over to that. And before we get started with anything else, let's add our extra content banner area. So I need to add the extra content stack. And I want to add a header and also some HTML. Now to save time, I'm going to copy the HTML from the home page and paste that in here. And we'll also make sure that we're using an H2 for our header. We'll just preview that to make sure we're looking good. Yep, and we'll look at customizing this text in just a minute. However, as I said, we're going to be focusing on creating some additional good quality content for our site that could promote other websites linking to us. So currently we just have one page about coffee on our site, and we're talking about where we source our coffee from, the regions of our coffee, what type of coffee beans we sell, and so on. However, it might be more beneficial to us to split out some of this information into individual pages. But before we do that, I want to show you a good example of this on the web. So let's go over to Safari. And here I have one of my favorite coffee shop websites open. It's Johan and Nyström. They are based in Sweden, but what we're looking at is their coffee page here. And if we just focus on the main content area for now, you'll see it looks fairly similar to our page. They have an image, they have some headings, and some supporting text about each one of those headings. And they could have left it just like that. You wouldn't have thought twice about it. However, if you look in their sidebar here, you'll see that they have individual pages about different types of coffee they sell, where they source their coffee from, even a coffee dictionary. And if we just have a look at a couple of those pages, you'll see there's good information about each one of their coffee beans, where they're sourcing the coffee beans, and so on. And as I say, even a coffee dictionary to explain some of the jargon that they might be using throughout these pages. Now the reason why this is good is because each page is providing you information about one subject. So this is important because if we were to put all of this content on one page, search engine bots and visitors to our site would find it very difficult to find the information that they're after. It's also good for a second reason because we are generating more pages on our site that provide detailed, important information about coffee and about our business. And that is going to give search engine bots a better idea that our website is not spam, it's an important website, it's got good information, it's worth showing visitors to Google that this is a good site to go and visit, and therefore you're more likely to get higher rankings. So what we're going to do for our site is start to look at generating some subpages like these, talking about the different types of coffee we sell. So let's go back to RapidWeaver and start doing that. So before we actually start looking at the content on the page, let's first generate these subpages that we are going to be using here. So to save time, I'm just going to duplicate the coffee page and drag that on top of coffee to make it a subpage. And then I'm going to rename this as signature and original. Then I'm going to duplicate that page again and call this direct trade. And we'll create one more and we'll call this one Coffee Dictionary. Okay, so all I've done here is create 3 subpages inside of the coffee page, and if we go in preview and have a look at our menu, you'll see that those are generated here and linked to like so. Okay, so let's start looking at how we could separate the content we have on the main coffee page into these subpages. And to do that, let's go to edit mode and we'll focus on these subheadings first. So the first one, we are going to be talking about the signature and original beans that we sell. Now you could just call this signature and original and that might be fine. However, I'm thinking about some keywords that we want to be found for and just trying to get those into the subheadings inside of our content. So I'm adding coffee beans there as well. Then rather than typing out some paragraphs of text here, what I'm going to do is go back to the example website and just borrow some of their text off of their coffee page. So we'll just copy this paragraph here just for an example and paste that in. And next we will go down to the second heading, which is regions currently, and we will change this to direct trade. And again, I'm going to go and borrow some text off of the website here and paste that in. And then finally, what we'll do is add one further heading for our coffee dictionary and some additional text as well. Okay, and if we go and have a look at that in preview, you'll see what we're doing here is we are dividing up our content into separate sections and then creating individual pages with more information about each section, so that we've got the signature and original page here. That's a heading inside our main coffee page. Then we have direct trade. Again, a little bit of information, but more information can be found on the dedicated direct trade page, and the same with the coffee dictionary one there. What you'll probably notice we haven't done is actually linked off to these pages yet. Now the first way we can do that is within the supporting text here. Now in the supporting text you should try and link to the page in a natural way. So when you're writing the copy, try not to write a find out more link. You'll want to be using some keywords in the text that is linking off to that page. So in this example we could use original and signature as the link to the page. And we can do that like so by using the link sheet in RapidWeaver and then just simply selecting the page here. Then you would add a descriptive title, so learn more about our signature and original coffee beans, and then we're linked off. The second way is that you could have a button or just some descriptive text underneath the paragraph and link off to the page there, and you could do that by saying something like more about our signature and original coffee beans, and then you would link that off to the page in the same way. We won't do that for now. I think just linking it within the paragraph text here is fine. Then we'll want to do the same for the other two here. And you can see in the supporting text that I've copied from the Joanne and Nystrom website, they actually say learn more about direct trade at the end. So this is the second alternative that I've just shown you of how to link off to the page. And again, you would just use the RapidWeaver's built-in link sheet and choose the correct page. And you would obviously add a descriptive title. I won't do that for now. And the same with the coffee dictionary. Obviously I've duplicated the text here, but we would say something like coffee can be confusing, learn more on our dictionary page, something like that. Just get a couple of keywords and make it sound natural, or as natural as possible. And then again, we'll just link that quickly off to our coffee dictionary, and you should add a descriptive title there. That is the first way to link off to your sub pages, and that would be within the text. Now, depending on how your site is laid out or how your theme looks, you might want to add a button at the bottom to make those links stand out a little bit more, and that is actually how we did it on the home page. So if you have a look here, we're talking about the different areas of our site, and then we have a big button below that. So depending on your preference on the look of your theme, you might want to do it in this way. We'll stick with just linking to the pages within the supporting text here. Now the next way that we can do this, and we probably want to do this, is within the sidebar. And if we look at the example website in Safari again, you'll see that's exactly what they're doing here. They're separating out all of the important information about their coffee into sub-pages and linking it inside of a kind of sub-menu in the sidebar. And we can recreate that within RapidWeaver by going to the Edit menu, and we can just add a list of links within the text here. And if we wanted to, we could format that as a list. And we would need to add a heading, obviously, And we could just say something like unbelievable coffee. And then obviously we shouldn't forget to actually link these texts off to the appropriate pages. And I'll just do this quickly. You should obviously be adding a descriptive title here. I'm not doing that just to save time, but you should definitely be doing that. Okay, and if we go back to preview, now you can see we have links off to each one of our sub pages here. You might want to spend a little bit more time making that look pretty. You could use perhaps another stack if you found one. You could style it differently, but the principle is that what we want to be doing is separating out all of this important information into individual pages that focus on one subject. And as I said at the beginning of the video, the reason we're doing that is because we want to provide useful information that is going to promote the likelihood of inbound backlinks. So before we round off this lesson, what we need to do is obviously update our banner area here for the coffee page. We need to be including some of those keywords that we decided upon in a previous lesson, and we need to make sure that all of our URLs, browser titles and so on are up to date and looking good. So let's start with that banner area. We'll go to edit mode and we'll add a keyword headline, unbelievable coffee beans. And then again, in the supporting text, you'll obviously want to describe the content on the page and use some of the keywords. I'm going to skip over typing out the text to save some time. And then in the button text here, you could link off to an online store if you have that. So we could say, for example, purchase our coffee beans. Something like that. You should be getting the idea by now that you have a heading with some keywords in, then you have some supporting text that includes some of those keywords in a natural way, and then a link off to a relevant website. So let's just preview that page quick and make sure it looks okay. So yeah, we are saying this is all about our unbelievable coffee beans, and then we have divided up each one of our pages into sections on this main page. Okay, so as I say, before we round off, we need to make sure that our URLs are looking good. So we'll go to edit mode, open up the page inspector, and on the first tab, if you remember in a previous episode, we decided to put some keywords into our URL for our coffee page. Now we might want to look at changing this now that we have additional content on our site and look at using some folders instead. So because we're not actually focusing on best coffee anymore, what we could do is put this inside a folder, and then these subpages would go inside that folder as well. So this top level folder needs to be descriptive of the content on this page, but also be flexible enough that we can add subfolders for these subpages as well. So I think something like coffee beans would work well. So this page will now be available at /coffee-beans. Then inside of the subpage, what we can do is just put a folder name of signature-original, and the same for the direct trade and coffee dictionary. Okay, and because these pages are subpages of the coffee page, what happens is the URL for this page is /coffee-beans/signature-original, for example. And the same for the direct trade. Those will be subpages of this top level page here. Okay, next we need to make sure that our browser titles are matching up to our content. So again, previously we were focusing on the best coffee and Brighton. Perhaps now we want to focus more on the fact that we are talking about the coffee beans that we sell in our cafe. So the title for this page would be Purchase Unbelievable Coffee Beans in Our Brighton Cafe. So that would be for the coffee page. And then we'll do the same for the signature, direct trade and coffee dictionary as well. So here we're saying signature and original coffee beans from Unbelievable Coffee. I think that works well because we've got our business name, we've got a couple of keywords in here, and as I always say, it describes the actual content on the page. So I won't actually go through and make you watch me do the direct trade and coffee dictionary as well. You get the idea. Just make sure you're updating the URLs and the browser titles to match in some of your keywords. Now obviously we haven't updated the content on these three pages. It's still got the default extra content area here and the same content that we copied over originally. I'm not going to go through and update this content. That's not the point of this video. The point I want to get across is that where appropriate, you should separate out the content on your site into individual pages. Now, if the content on this page was only one paragraph long, then you shouldn't be creating an individual page for that content. It could perhaps just have gone on the main coffee page. However, if you have a lot of good relevant information for each one of your sub pages, then yes, go ahead, create that sub page and use that page as somewhere that you can link off to from other parts of your site so that it has a really good source of information about that subject. So as I say, hopefully you can see the benefit of why we've done this. This is just creating more really good, relevant, interesting content for our whole site. Rather than having one page, we have 4 interesting pages around coffee that we can link to, that other people can share, and that provide relevant, interesting content that search engines would want to link to when people are searching in Google. So that just about does it for this lesson. Let's publish these changes live and make sure we're still looking good in the browser. So let's visit that in the browser and have a look at our menu. And as you can see here, we have our coffee page, and then we have our signature and original. And as you can see, I mentioned that top level page is /coffee beans, and then the sub pages are published inside that top level folder. So the URL for each of these pages is coffee beans /signature original, and again coffee beans /direct trade. And that's important to note because you want to keep your URL lengths to a minimum, but also include those keywords and describe the content as well. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to be focusing on our blog and how you can generate interesting blog articles that will generate even more backlinks for your website.